Hi everyone, welcome back to Raw Inspired Living. This week I thought I would jump in here and talk about pantry staples, because when you're on a high raw diet, you're really able to make so many different flavors, and I use pantry staples a lot for those different flavors in salads, in dressings, in smoothies, in bliss balls that I make, or any sort of raw desserts that I make. So I just thought I'd run through some of the basics. I can put a list down below so that you can, tick off the basics as you get them. But I thought it might help, because if you've got the basics in your pantry, it makes it so much easier to create things because everything is just already there. So let's jump into it. Let's start with seeds, because seeds are amazing and they are so highly nutritious for you. One of the seeds I use the most is chia. You can see it's nearly empty. My chia seeds are always nearly empty. I use chia seeds all the time. I use them in smoothies. I use them as chia pudding. We generally have chia pudding every night for dessert after dinner, because having chia seeds before you go to bed is really, really good for your sleep. So chia seeds, amazing. Just love them, love them, love them. And another one that I use a lot is hemp seeds. So hemp seeds are super high in iron, and they've got a lot of protein in them as well. So they are such a staple, and you can add them to smoothies, you can add them to dressings, you can add them to pretty much anything, salads, anything you want. So hemp seeds. Make sure you get organic hemp seeds, got something in mind. Make sure you get organic hemp seeds, that's important. And then I just use the sunflower seeds, I use pumpkin seeds. Now when I get my seeds like these, pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, I do soak them first and then I dehydrate them. So they are all activated, all the phytates are gone, and I just find it easier that way because then they're ready to use. I can throw them into milk and they're already done. And flax seeds. Flax seeds are another seed that I use that are super high in omega-3s. I forgot to mention that chia seeds, super high in omega-3s, like the best source of omega-3s, and we need lots of omega-3s. So that's it for the seeds, which are amazing. So let's move on now to the nuts. I use cashews a lot to thicken things. I use them in smoothies. If I want something really creamy, I'll definitely add cashews. One of the other nuts I use the most is walnuts. Walnuts, again, are super high in omega-3. So a lot of the other nuts like almonds, I use almonds a lot as well. I use some almond milk. And again, I soak my nuts when I get them for at least 8 hours overnight. I just soak them and then I dry them in the dehydrator for 24 hours or more. Then they are activated and I don't have to soak them for nut milk or anything. They're already ready to go with no phytates on them and more easily digestible. But walnuts I use the most. They are super high in omega-3s, just like chia seeds, and other nuts like cashews, almonds, those sorts of nuts, they're more high in omega-6s. And we have quite an imbalance of omega-6 and omega-3 in our diets, and you really need to up your omega-3s because omega-3s are so healing for your body. So if you're going to choose a nut, choose walnuts because they're higher in omega-3s than the other nuts. So that is amazing. Now let's get on to one of my favorite ingredients that I use all of the time. Cacao. You can see it's hard, it's empty, but it's used a lot. You can see the jar, it's usually full. I use cacao powder all the time. It is one of the most beneficial superfoods that we can get our hands on at the moment. It is amazing for the circulatory system. It's just an all-round amazing superfood, and it's been used for so long in ancient civilizations because of the benefits it has for your health. So it is not cocoa powder, so it's not COCOA, it's COCAO, cacao powder. That's what you're looking for. So anything that you currently use cocoa powder for, don't use cocoa powder, it's just really highly refined and not great for you. You can replace it with cacao powder and it will taste exactly the same. Cacao powder and a little bit of sweetener like coconut sugar or maple syrup tastes exactly like cocoa powder, even in a hot chocolate if that's your gig. So I use cacao powder a lot. I also use cacao nibs. I put them in bliss balls. I sprinkle them on smoothie bowls. So I use cacao nibs. So that's just a less processed form of the raw cacao. And if I'm making chocolate, I will use raw cacao paste, which is again just a little bit less refined than the nibs, and cacao butter. And it makes the best homemade chocolate. I'll do another video on homemade chocolate because honestly, homemade chocolate is so delicious. So cacao, I use raw cacao every single day in something. It's either in bliss balls, it's in smoothies, it's somewhere in my diet every single day. Other things I use every day, Coconut is so good for your health. It's such a beautiful way to get good fats that your body can use. And you can make the best coconut milk you've ever had just out of desiccated coconut and water. That's it. It is so easy. You can make coconut cream, just put less water in it, squeeze it through a nut milk bag, and you are done. You don't even need to soak the coconut, right? So it takes 3 seconds literally to blend up some coconut milk, some homemade coconut milk. So a lot of the coconut milks you get from the supermarket, or a lot of the nut milks you get from the supermarket, are just full of stuff that your body doesn't need. So just make your own. It's so simple. Just buy yourself a nut milk bag. They're like $20. They don't cost much. Squeeze your milk through a nut milk bag, put it in the fridge. It lasts for 3 to 5 days, maybe not 5 days, probably 3 days, 3 to 4 days. But coconut milk is amazing. It's great in smoothies. It's great in, it's great for everything. So coconut, get yourself some desiccated coconut. Make sure when you're buying these things that they are organic. The less processed you can get them and the less chemicals on them, the better. I'm going to do another whole video on toxicity because I feel that our bodies being overburdened with toxicity is what creates most issues for our health. So that's a longer video. Oats. So I use oats. I know that oats aren't typically raw because they are steam rolled. I get it, right? But I use oats in smoothies sometimes. I definitely use it in overnight oats and chia. That's delicious. They are so good for our health though. And I really feel when I eat oats, they are good. They just feel, they have a nice frequency to them, oats. Again, get organic oats because the oat crops are ones that can be a bit highly sprayed. So get yourself organic oats. So that's those. Now, sweeteners, because we all love a bit of sweetness, let's be honest, but I use a few sweeteners regularly. One of the ones I use the most are dates, medjool dates. I get the medjool dates. I don't get them pitted because I think they dry out a little bit. Actually, Costco has some good organic pitted ones and they're not too bad. So if you've got a Costco near you, jump into Costco. These I just get from my local health food store. I get organic medjool dates and I use them in everything. I use them in smoothies, I use them in dressings, I use them in bliss balls. They are an amazing sweetener. Close to nature, your body knows exactly what to do with that. It's got all the minerals and all the vitamins and all of the things that you need still intact, which is amazing. Maple syrup, my other favorite, and I have to be honest, I've always loved maple syrup. One thing, and I use it quite a bit. I use it in raw chocolate. I use it in, sometimes in smoothie bowls. I use it a bit. One thing that's really important when you're looking at maple syrup, it has to be 100% maple syrup. So don't get one of those maple flavored syrup type things from the supermarket. They are not maple syrup. They are just really bad for you combination of sugars. And syrups, so don't get that. So you really want to have a look and make sure you're checking the ingredients and it says pure maple syrup 100%. That's what you're looking for. Okay, so just make sure that you're getting actual maple syrup and not corn syrup and some other syrups that are really bad for your health. So don't do that. Coconut sugar, I've talked about this before in a swap out video. Coconut sugar I love. We don't use white sugar in our house anymore, and I think I talked about it in the swap out video that, it's so refined and so difficult for the body to process and so addictive. Like it really is so addictive. So we don't use it anymore. I just use coconut sugar, maple syrup, dates. And the other thing I use too in my bliss balls is dried fruit. Like don't underestimate dried fruit to give you that real sweet satiation that you might be looking for. Dried apricots are so high in iron. I give them to Holly because she's, 12, 13. She's starting to need a little bit more iron. So, dried apricots are amazing. You might think mine look black. That's because they're not treated with any chemicals. Do not get the orange dried apricots. They are so bad for your health. The sulfates and everything that they put on those apricots to keep them orange are really bad. So please don't eat them. When you get proper dried apricots, they'll be brown. But they taste like apricots and they're amazing. I dehydrate my own bananas because dehydrated bananas are just so delicious. They are just like lollies. They're so good. Figs, dried figs. So any dried fruit, amazing for your health. So get into that. Now the other thing that I really had forgotten about until recently, but now I started to use it a bit more, is blackstrap molasses. Now go figure. My mother used to make us eat spoonfuls of blackstrap molasses. I thought she was crazy at the time, but it is super high in iron. Like it's really high in iron and it's actually really quite nice. So again, get yourself some organic blackstrap molasses, pop it in smoothie balls, pop it in your smoothies, use it as a bit of a sweetener because you're going to get a really nice boost of iron when you're using blackstrap molasses. So that's another sweetener that I use as well. All right, so that's that. Now for flavorings, what do I use for flavorings? So I do use peanut butter. Again, I know it's not, potentially fully raw, but because the peanuts are probably roasted, but I use it in dressings because honestly, if a peanut butter dressing is what gets you to eat a whole bowl of kale salad, well then just eat the peanut butter. That's what I say, right? So I don't use it all the time, but I've got a beautiful recipe in the Simply More Raw Volume 1 called Dreamy Dressing, which uses peanut butter. You'll eat anything with that dreamy dressing on it, I promise you. Nutritional yeast, I use nutritional yeast a lot as a high raw vegan. I use it in dressings, I use it just sprinkled on my salads because it is beautifully high in B12. And B12, everyone's like, oh, vegans, they struggle with B12. You know what? Most people struggle with B12 because B12 doesn't actually come from meat. B12 comes from bacteria. And the only reason meat eaters get more of it is because the meat has bacteria in it. So it's a great source of B12 for everybody, not just vegans. So there you go. Tahini, it's amazing. Sesame seeds, it's basically just pressed sesame seeds. Sesame seeds, which I use a bit of as well. Sesame seeds are the highest calcium food on the planet. So when you need calcium, look for tahini or sesame seeds. They are amazing. So again, in dressings, just drizzled on salad. Tahini just mixed with a bit of tamari is amazing. So that's that. Speaking of tamari, I haven't got that out of the cupboard. Let me just quickly get that. Okay, back with the tamari. So I use tamari a lot as well. So tamari is just like a wheat-free soy sauce, but it's really lovely and it gives a really nice flavour. So you can literally just put tamari and a bit of tahini together and you'll have an amazing dressing for a salad or for some raw veggies. It'll be delicious. I also use a bit of garlic powder and onion powder in my dressing. So they are probably the two spices I go to the most. So I use this brand, Simply Organic. Often you can find it in a health food store, but I just order mine online, generally through iHerb, because they have all of them and it's really quick to deliver. So onion and garlic powder, beautiful flavourings for dressings. I obviously use pepper. Sometimes I just love salt and pepper on my salads and that's all I'm really using. And salt. I've done another swap out video on salt. So I use sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. They are the only salts we use in this house because they are full of minerals and they are so good for your health. So get yourself some pink Himalayan salt or sea salt. Another two things that I use a lot are cinnamon. Cinnamon, these spices, don't forget the spices. Spices are also great for your health. So cinnamon I use a lot and nutmeg. Now I grate the nutmeg like just on a microplane because I love fresh grated nutmeg. I put it in smoothie bowls, I put it in chia pudding, overnight oats. I use nutmeg a lot. I love cinnamon and nutmeg, which is amazing. And one other thing I do use in my green smoothies is chlorella. So I do use chlorella in my green smoothies because it is probably the most dense nutrient on the planet. It doesn't taste great, so I don't use a lot of it because it's very green in its flavour, but I do use it in my green smoothies and as a supplement. I'll probably do another video on supplements, but I do use chlorella in my green smoothies. And the other thing I use is oil. So there are a lot of, vegans and high vegans, that are quite anti-oil. I actually feel like my body needs a bit of fat. It needs a bit of oil. So I do use oil in my salad dressings. I try not to cook with oil. If I do, not very often, but because heated oil is not great for your health, but I do use it raw in my salads and in dressings because it just makes things beautiful and creamy. So I hope that helps you today and you've seen a little bit of what is a base pantry. So I'll pop a list down below because as I said, when you've got everything on hand that you need, you can whip a dressing together so quickly and you can eat a huge salad with a beautiful creamy dressing on it, and it makes such a difference to your intake of raw food. And if you've got everything that you need on hand, then you're going to obviously be more successful because you're not going to go, oh, I don't have that, I have to run to the supermarket. No one's going to be doing that, right? So have it all on hand. Once you've got it, you've got it, and you know what your pantry stock should be, and then you'll learn how to use it. And I promise you, it'll be so much easier once you start down the road of using some of these products and swapping out some ones that you already use, making your own dressings and things. It seems complicated when you start, but it's actually quite easy and quite delicious and more cost effective. So hopefully this video has been helpful. If you like it, let me know. If you want to see something else on this channel, let me know that too. And I hope you have a great day and look forward to seeing you in Raw Inspired Living again.